Let's check the difference between insert effects and auxiliary sends and what they actually do.
So first we're going to take a look at what auxiliary sends and insert effects actually do in order to know which one we actually want to choose. So first we're going to take a look at the signal flow. Normally we can find one insert point per channel on the mixing console. On the insert point on an analog console, the signal physically leaves the channel strip and the console to run through an external processor. So the insert point is an actual break in the signal path. We can use inserts to run the full signal on that channel through a compressor, for example. So simply said, we use an insert for processing through an external processor for just that specific channel. In the analog world, we talk about an insert send and an insert return. The insert send is the output and the insert return is the input of the send. A simple way to remember is that we send the signal to the processor and we return it to the console after processing. An auxiliary or aux send sends a portion of the signal on the channel to the auxiliary bus. The auxiliary bus can be seen as a horizontal connection on the mixing console. So we can send a portion of each of the channels that we want to send to this auxiliary. The output of the auxiliary bus is usually a physical output on the back or on the top of the console. From here on we can send the signal to an effects processor like a reverb unit. The output of the reverb unit can then be sent back to a group return on the console or maybe onto spare channels. So when would I want to use an insert effect and when do I want to use an auxiliary send? So when there's channel specific processing like compression, gating, equalizing or maybe chorus effects that we want to affect on our whole sound, then we want to use an insert effect because that will affect the whole sound on a specific channel. There's also effects that we might want to use on many channels like a reverb, a delay or an echo. In that case we can use an auxiliary send so we can send a portion of the signal to that reverb unit. We keep having the original signal unchanged in the mix and we add in the effect on a different channel. When we use an auxiliary send, we only send a portion of the channel to the effects processor. This means we can blend in the effect with the mix and create a wet-dry balance between the original signal and the affected signal. Dry is what we call the unaffected signal and wet is what we call the affected signal. Some typical insert effects are gates, equalizers, compressors and dynamic shapers like envelope shapers and sometimes also chorus, flanger, phaser type of effects. In many situations you want these to affect just one channel on our mix, so that's why these are typical insert effects. Typical auxiliary send effects would be reverb and delay units, and this goes all the way back to the days of analog, because you normally didn't have many of these reverb units in the studio, so you couldn't really insert them on all of the channels even if you wanted to, because you simply didn't have that much reverb units laying around. The principle for digital is exactly the same. We can load up plugins as digital inserts and we can create auxiliary channels and we can send the signal from each of the channels to these auxiliaries. So the exact same stuff actually goes for software as well. Even if you're just working out of the box, it doesn't mean that you can't use any analog gear in your mix.